And we're live.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. This is the Corporation of the Township of South Algonquin regular council meeting of Wednesday, June 1st, 2022, commencing at 9 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Carla, go ahead with roll call, please.
Mayor Dumas,
Here.
Councillor Collins,
Here.
Councillor Florent,
Here.
Councillor Harper,
Here.
Councillor Bongo,
I'm here.
Councillor Shala,
Present.
Councillor Rodnick,
Here.
Thank you. All members of council are present. I would go ahead with agenda item number 3, the land acknowledgement. We acknowledge that we are gathered on the unceded traditional territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, specifically the Madawaskarini people of the Madawaska River. We further acknowledge that the Algonquin people have been stewards of this land since time immemorial, and we strive to treat the land, along with the flora and fauna it supports, the people, their customs and traditions, with honor and respect. Today, this area is home to people of all walks of life, and we acknowledge the shared opportunities and responsibilities to live, work, and survive within this beautiful territory. Chi-miigwech, all my relations. Agenda item number 4, are there any additions or amendments to the agenda? Hearing none. Carla, go ahead with the adoption of the agenda, please.
okay, I require a mover and a seconder.
I'll move it.
Is that Councillor Rodnick?
Yes.
And a seconder?
Councillor Florent.
Here. Moved by Councillor Rodnick, seconded by Councillor Florent. The council for the Corporation of the Township of South Algonquin adopts the agenda as circulated for the regular council meeting of June 1st, 2022.
Call the vote, please.
Mayor Dumas,
4.
Councillor Collins,
4.
Councillor Florent,
Or.
Councillor Harper,
4.
Councillor Bongo,
4.
Councillor Shala,
4.
Councillor Rodnick,
4.
It's carried. Excuse me. Agenda item number 6, with the business before us this morning, does any member of council wish to disclose pecuniary interest? Hearing none, thank you. Agenda item number 7, petitions, delegations, and/or presentations. We do not have any of these items or individuals present before us this morning. So Carla, please go ahead with the resolution regarding the minutes, please.
okay, mover please,
Councillor Florent.
seconder,
Councillor Rodnick.
moved by Councillor Florent, seconded by Councillor Rodnick. The council for the Corporation of the Township of South Algonquin adopts the minutes of the regular council meeting of May 4th, 2022 as circulated.
Call the vote.
Mayor Dumas,
4.
Councillor Collins,
4.
Councillor Florent,
4.
Councillor Harper,
4.
Councillor Bongo,
4.
Councillor Shala,
4.
Councillor Rodnick,
4.
Point of order.
Go ahead, Councillor Florent.
Shouldn't have we asked if there was any errors or omissions before we voted on it?
I can do that. Yes, I assume people might speak up, but I would do that. Are there any errors or omissions to the regular council meeting minutes of May 4th? Okay, hearing none. Thank you. Go ahead for the next one, Carla.
mover please,
I'll move it.
I'll move it.
okay,
Councillor Collins.
and would that be Councillor Bongo as a seconder?
Yes, please.
Moved by Counselor Collins, seconded by Counselor Bongo, that council for the corporation of the township of South Algonquin adopts the minutes of the Asset Management Committee meeting of May 18th, 2022 as circulated.
And could I ask, are there any errors or omissions to these minutes prior to the vote? Hearing none, go ahead, Carla.
Mayor Dumas,
Or,
Counselor Collins,
4,
Counselor Florent,
Or,
Counselor Harper,
4,
Counselor Bongo,
4,
Counselor Shala,
4,
Counselor Rodnick,
4,
carried. Go ahead with the next for the Waste Management Committee meeting, please.
Mayor, a mover,
I'll move it. Counselor Harper.
you, and a seconder.
I'll second it.
Moved by Counselor Harper, seconded by Counselor Collins, that council for the corporation of the township of South Algonquin adopts the minutes of the Waste Management Committee meeting of May 18th, 2022 as circulated.
Are there any errors or omissions to these minutes?
yes, there is. Counselor Florent.
Go ahead.
I'm getting reverb here, so it's hard to talk, but the opening sentence says that it's chair of the asset management. It should be chair of the waste management.
Oh,
Call the meeting to order.
okay, very good. Thank you. Anything else? Good catch. Thanks very much. Go ahead with the vote then, Carla, please.
Mayor Dumas,
4,
Counselor Collins,
4,
Counselor Florent,
Or,
Counselor Harper,
4,
Counselor Bongo,
4,
Counselor Shala,
4,
Counselor Rodnick,
4,
it's carried. Thank you very much. We're now at agenda item number 9, committee staff and council reports. That's the blue package, the blue outline package. Thank you very much. And we will do them in order that they have been presented in the package. And so we have a committee report from the Murchison and Lyle Parks and Recreation Committee meeting of the minutes of April 12th. Councillor Florent, anything you wish to add to these minutes or discuss?
just, if you bear with me 1 second, I'm bringing them up. I don't think I have anything to add.
Okay. Thank you. It's great to see the committees up and running again. So looking forward to all the things that they are planning on behalf of their communities. So thank you. The second report we have in this section is the fire report from Chief Collins. Anything you'd like to touch on in your report, please, Chief?
I hope you, I just lost everything. I love computers. Got it. Okay, good morning, everybody. I hope you all have the amended report that I circulated through council this morning. I amended the report because the initial, you don't have an amended report?
No.
No.
I never got any.
No.
Okay,
Unless it came in the last half hour.
Yeah, I circulated the amended report to the township office last night, asking for it to be circulated to all council members before your meeting. You had my old report, which was written on the 24th, and then a few things happened really quickly between the 24th and today's meeting. I can very quickly, I can go in detail through the report if you wish. I tidied up the calls and responses and actually put them in date order. I don't know how they ended up out of date order. There was another call for Whitney units on the 27th of May, which was after I wrote this report on the 24th. Basically, there was a hydro pole fire 1 kilometre inside the park on Highway 60, which of course is not our responsibility. Although the dispatch had already sent the call out whilst I was talking to them, one firefighter, I believe, from Whitney attended. And I believe with the use of an extinguisher, managed to put the fire out, and Hydro One were already on scene. So there was actually very little for us to do there, although I had liaised and passed it through to the MNRF, and then had to call them back and say, I know we said we weren't attending, but in actual fact we have, and we've done it, and they were very pleased and happy about that. I have literally just come out of a meeting with Dave Gatley regarding the burn indicator display boards, which you'll see as the last item under the complaints and concerns. I think that's on the, not on the amended one. But anyway, basically on the 24th of May, a member of the public called in to say that the township website was indicating nighttime burning only, and the burn board that they had just passed on the road said daytime. I've just had a meeting with Dave this morning, and basically the works department are completely snowed under, understaffed, overworked, and he's just asked if the fire department can actually take on the responsibility for changing the indicators on the burn board. That I've agreed to. We've now got to try and work out how I'm going to get the volunteer firefighters out, presumably in the evenings when they're free, to the locations to actually change the burn boards. And I'm also going to look at, I looked at one at the Madawaska Centre, and it's a combination of screws, roofing bolts, and nuts and bolts. I'm going to look at try and come up with a simple system that will work for all boards and make it really easy for us to change the indicators. We'll just have to monitor them over the summer season and hopefully see if anybody is playing with them and moving them around, or they'll just leave them alone. Hopefully they'll just leave them alone. Upcoming events, the date's slightly changed there. I'm actually, after this meeting, I'm going to the Kids Castle this morning to monitor their fire drill, and I'm taking the mini pumper over there for them to see and have a look around. I've got a Chiefs meeting on the 8th of June with the Renfrew County Chiefs, and now the amended date is the 15th of June for me to monitor the fire drills at the Whitney schools. The only other recent stuff that changed and would have been in the amended report that I hoped you would have had is that, yes, on the 24th of May, as discussed at the recent asset management meeting, I entered the bidding process for the 2005 GMC 5500 fire truck mini pumper being sold as surplus from Ottawa Fire Services. Three bidders had entered the race, and I'm pleased to report we won the bidding process. So I know you've all been advised of that. Our winning bid was $21,500, and there was a 5% buyer's premium added to that for a total of $22,785. Obviously, there was tax on top of that, but I understand the township gets the tax back. 25th of May, the day after I wrote this report, I received an email request from the Alien Lake Community Association for an article on fire prevention matters for their next issue of their newsletter. And would I be willing to participate in fire prevention training for the Lake Association? Both of these matters I'll be actively pursuing over the coming months. There was an impromptu meeting between council on the 27th of May where you agreed to purchase from Jamie McRae the 2003 Fort Garry pumper, also recently in service with the City of Ottawa, that he just purchased. That's on a like cost basis. 30th of May, I received a request from the Whitney schools asking for the fire department assistance to fill a water tank at the community garden throughout the summer period. That I've agreed to, and we've got to confirm the details at the meeting next week. Pleased to report that on the 31st of May, myself, John Stubbs and Jamie McRae, along with our CAO, attended Ottawa and collected the two vehicles from the works yard there. Both vehicles are in a dirty condition. They've been left in their yard for a number of months, and the associated winter spring grime is over them. They need a very good clean, but they both started immediately at the first turn of the key, and we drove them back here to Whitney, and they've gone straight to Chad Brown's for their safety inspections, and there were no issues at all regarding the running of the vehicles on the way here. So fingers crossed, long may that continue. The bigger truck, the main pumper, will be requiring some minor paintwork doing. It's an aluminium cab, and the paint is blooming underneath, although the aluminum is blooming underneath the paint around a wheel arch area and is pushing the paint off the panel completely. So I'd like to get that paintwork done before we look at putting the corporate decals on it. But certainly we'll be bringing them into service as soon as we possibly can. I would like to note that I'm grateful to Jamie McRae, John Stubbs, Brian Martin and Council for their support and assistance in these recent purchases, and I hope we will see years of service from these vehicles for what I consider to be a very small outlay. It's my intention to place the mini pumper at Whitney and the pumper at Madawaska. That will give each fire hall will have at their disposal a pumper, a mini pumper and a tanker to ensure a flexible approach to answering calls depending on type of incident and location. We're still awaiting the completion of the upgrades to the Madawaska pump house. And I'm talking this morning about Dave about doing a site meeting for the 3 new dry hydrants that they hope to be installed before the end of the summer. That concludes my amended report. I apologize that you didn't get the full written one in time, but if you have any questions, happy to answer them now.
Thank you very much, Chief Collins, to yourself and to our fire department staff. Excellent work, great pivoting and turnaround, and the enhancement to the department with equipment and your responsiveness to calls, etc., is very much appreciated. Any members of council have a question or comments, please? Okay. Hearing none. Thank you very much, Chief Collins, and I'm sure the children are looking forward to your visits. So go out and continue your great work. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor.
You're welcome. The next item in our agenda under committee and staff reports is the CPAC meeting. And Councillor Rodnick, is there anything you'd like to elaborate on in regards to the report from the meeting?
We all know floating bacteria and mold spores.
Sorry. Okay.
This was the first meeting that they've had since February of 2021. And it was held via, most people attended via Zoom. So I haven't had an opportunity to meet all the people in the committee yet. The report is basically showing that, things have increased a little bit over the first part of the quarter of 2022. But then again, when you look at some of the numbers of some of the cases, a lot of them are just one case of this or one case of that. And it also doesn't take into account some of these things that are where somebody's a repeat offender, such as assaults or domestic disputes and those type of things. So you can see that some of the sexual assaults, like assault levels of 1 and 2, compared to last year where there was none. The sergeant indicated that a lot of these types of calls have been related to pandemic reasons, those type of things, because people have been in such close proximity. Another thing that was noted was, I'm trying to get a clarification on it, is there's information attached to this about something called Project Lifesaver. The sergeant hasn't got back to me yet. This is something that's coming to Renfrew County, and I was wondering whether or not we could be possibly involved in it if the need arose. Basically what it is it's a device that's used for people that have a habit of wandering, where somebody can put a wristband on their loved one, and when the person, if they happen to wander off, it doesn't warn anybody that they're gone. What it is if they go missing, they call 911 and then trigger somebody to come and try to help them find this person. So it sounds like the sergeant was very familiar with this program, and he was quite happy to see that it was coming to Renfrew County. I'm just trying to get clarification, since they're the OPP that look after us, whether or not we could be, we'll be considered part of this. And the other thing is body cameras and in-car cameras are coming to the detachment, which is going to be a good thing for both, protecting the officers in their conduct and ensuring that everything's on film that anybody can need to know. And there's another CPAC meeting the end of June 30th.
Thank you very much, Councillor Rodnick. Any questions from council in regards to this report?
Hi, Councillor Shala here. I have a comment. I noticed one of our officers from the community is involved in the safety aspect of it. And also it was good to see how the various detachments work together to, I guess, zero in on some pretty serious theft
Mhm.
in an adjacent township. You know what? That's very good.
I agree with you. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Hearing none, thank you very much, Councillor Rodnick. Great to have reports coming back and again, seeing committees being restarted. So thank you very much. And I'm sure we look forward to the feedback just in regards to the wander alert. And I'm very confident that that would include South Algonquin, but thank you for asking for the clarification. Okay, number 4 is the staff report on the staff report on the tax capping bylaw. Brian, were you going to take any questions on this or?
I'll let
Okay.
Jennifer speak to it. She did write it.
Okay, thank you very much. So Jennifer, any highlights you'd like to bring to our attention?
Just a generalization that this bylaw represents all the eligibility criteria that a commercial, industrial, or multi-residential property would have to meet to stay in the capping program. We're essentially finished with it. I'm happy to be there. We have one more year to formalize things, but at this point, there's actually zero impact to the taxation levels. So it's just a formality to keep going with this for the next year. And hopefully in 2 years' time, we will not have to pass this bylaw anymore, as we'll be out of the capping program.
Very good, Jennifer. Good news in that regard. Any questions of Jennifer in regards to this? There is a bylaw later on in the meeting, as you indicated, Jennifer. Hearing none, anyone? All right, thanks very much, Jennifer.
You're welcome.
And agenda item number 5, CAO report included in the package regarding broadband, and that would be you, Brian.
That's
Anything
correct.
you want to?
I'm just doing a follow-up from our economic development meeting. These were 3 items that were identified at that meeting. So I just wanted to bring those back for any further guidance or direction that may be related to them, and to advise council as to where things are as it relates to broadband currently. The Eastern Ontario Regional Network, because we do overlap a bit on the county borders and the Eastern Ontario borders, they've actually taken small corners of us to enhance their own services. And then the District of Nipissing has us included in their broadband initiatives as well. So I just wanted to bring forward the fact that we're not completely forgotten, and that we are working with other partners in the process of trying to bring better broadband services to our greater community.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments, feedback to Brian in regards to this?
Brian, I'd like to make one comment. It's Richard. I'm not sure whether you're aware or not. Maybe council can clarify also. I think it was, we were fortunate enough to get cell towers in our township prior to the surrounding townships, which I think boosted, maybe encouraged the other townships to move forward or whatever. But I may be wrong, but I think we were. Joe, you may recall that also.
Well, you're absolutely right, Richard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I think because we remember we had the presentation, and I can't remember the name of the individuals that came, but I mean, Highway 127 and Highway 60 are major corridors, you know, within a rural area. And as Councillor Florent and Councillor Shala indicated, certainly was looked at even as this was just beginning to be a movement to the expansion of broadband throughout areas. So I think the fact that we have those arteries going through our community, and obviously from the eastern area, that they have to put these towers up to accommodate. So through that process, I believe we are getting broadband enhancements. So the alternatives offered by Brian, are to, to just recommend actions or to look at alternate actions. And I don't know how council feels. I think the continuing monitoring of this and the fact that we are monitoring and that these agencies know that we are monitoring and we want the enhancement in our area would be the recommendation, I would imagine, unless someone else has something they'd like to comment on.
I'd just like to add, Jane, that there was a transfer of some grant money between Fednor and Bell when those towers were erected. It's specifically because we had our Northern Ontario status that we were able to get that done. And it may be time to go back to Fednor again for some help in expanding our broadband.
We could forward that suggestion to you, Brian, and asked if you could follow up on that in regards to what's happening at the Fednor level as well.
Certainly.
At the Phenom conference a couple of weeks ago, there was quite a lengthy presentation from Fednor, and it was about their availability of grants. And I'm sure communications was one of them in their long list.
Yeah, thank
I'll
you for
certainly
that.
follow up.
And did I hear you?
Mayor, I'd like to mention, Brian, you should be aware that also that when the towers were initially installed, they either rented property or they acquired a land use permit from the Crown on McGuey Road. And there was to be a tower there and was to be a tower installed, but they never installed it. And there is a dead zone along Highway 127, and it's likely because of that. So whenever the time comes to jumpstart this again, I think that location should be possibly be looked at, and you should be aware of it. And I'm not sure why they didn't install it, but there is a fair distance there that's just not, you can't. It's not usable.
Thank you, Richard. And Councillor Collins, did I hear you there?
Yes, I was about to say cell service is one thing. To actually get reasonable broadband and data transfer to our township, I think is essential. We have no public transport. We have no way of people getting around using public transport. We don't even have a cab company or Uber to service this area. I think, to actually, for elderly and those that are stuck at their homes and those that don't drive, I think to actually have a decent data transfer and broadband service is so essential that we should be really, pushing for this in a real big way. That's all, just endorsing what we were saying earlier, really. But I think because of our situation, because of no public transport, as I said, and no even cab service or Uber coming out here, this should be a priority for us to actually get broadband to every person. It's not a luxury anymore. It's a way of life. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I think the connectivity that Brian has established here in regards to reaching out to these and I know that Brian will keep us on the front page or on the table with these individual groups, etc. So any other comments? Okay, then Brian, would you go ahead? Your next agenda item is economic development staffing report.
Obviously, at our economic development meeting, there was some discussion around potentially the need for an economic development or community development type position within the community. And basically, I think that that need was identified as part of the our strategic planning. That need was identified as part of a Fednor grant about a year ago. And I think that between now and budget time, that the staff should undertake to see if there's some grant opportunities towards that fulfillment of that role, and that any other discussions related to the requirements be brought forward as part of our budget deliberations for 2023.
Thank you for that report. Any feedback or comments? I think that's an excellent planning process, and would be happy to see that going forward. Any comments from council?
Is Councillor Bongo here?
Oh, go ahead, Councillor Bongo.
Yep, just wanted to say that that sounds very positive. I think it would be great for staff to be reviewing any grant opportunities for that position, and to see, if necessary, what budget considerations could be made for 2023. Staff resources right now are stretched, and the public really want to see action on economic development plans, and our strategic plan does speak at length about that. So in my opinion, I think having somebody in that role at our township would be very empowering for us and the greater community at large. So we look forward to further developments in the future. So thanks for the staff report.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bongo. Anyone else? All right, and the last item on the agenda under committee and staff reports is agenda item 7, the CAO report on housing. And go ahead, Brian, or any comments or feedback? Brian, anything you'd like to highlight first of all?
Well, I think we as part of our economic development meeting, one of the concerns and discussions was related to the lack of long-term housing. We certainly have some short-term housing available within the community, but there's very little long-term rentals. There's very few homes available on the market for sale. So I think the district of Nipissing, Mayor Dumas, I think you've worked very hard with the district of Nipissing's housing group in an attempt to get them to bring additional housing. I know that there's some discussion happening at this moment. I've met with the manager of housing on a couple of occasions now, and she's been very clear that they're working towards something as it relates to redevelopment within the community for public housing, that as soon as they've got their I's dotted and T's crossed, they're hoping to be able to make some form of announcement towards that. But I think we still need to continue to work with the greater community. Our businesses, a lot of which are tourist in nature, are giving up units at their own accommodations that they could be renting. So some of our other employers are having a hard time keeping employees because they don't have any accommodation for them, and they're couch surfing, or they really don't have a permanent place to say this is where I'm living. So I think there's a lot of work to be done here, and I don't have a magic answer at this moment, but certainly I think that there's further analysis and review necessary by staff, and a lot of hard work with some of the partners within the community to try and bring forward a housing plan that's going to work. Obviously, the district of Nipissing is our housing provider. We pay them as part of a levy to them to provide those services within our community. So I'm hopeful that during the next term of office, we'll see the fruition of some of that hard work that council has done at the housing board level. But we still, I think, need to bring other partners in to look at how can we bring housing to the community that's going to be available to the public that really do need it, and to the employers who need it, so they don't have to necessarily be giving up beds in their own establishments in order to have staff working with them.
Thank you for that, Brian, and thank you for the recognition in there of the work that I've been doing in the background. Unfortunately, COVID came along, and as with many other things, priorities had to be revamped, and that happened at the District of Nipissing Social Services Board, because as we know, money began to come in very quickly from federal particularly, and some provincial money for homelessness and that type of situation, and people losing housing because of COVID and economic situations, etc. So DSAP is very much aware of the fact that South Algonquin wants to go forward with this, and it's the appropriate way to do it, where the Social Services Board goes out and gets probably a third partner or a second partner and work together. And I know they're doing that within agencies within South Algonquin too. They're having a dialogue. So I'm optimistic that in the next term of council, we will see some fruition from the work that's been being done during this time period. So thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments in regards to the report that Brian has brought forward?
Councillor Bongo here.
Go ahead, Councillor Bongo.
Super, thank you so much. This is a huge concern of the public, of the entire township. So I think it's really positive to hear that these lobbying efforts are taking place. Second, I wanted to mention that we've discussed in the past about trailers and how there seems to be an increase in the amount of trailers appearing within the township. And I think that that is an effect due to the housing shortage. So, but of course, we're going to talk about that when we look at our official plan and zoning bylaws again, to see how we can give our residents the flexibility that they need to get creative with their housing solutions. The one question that I had was there was a statement in the report here about short-term rentals and the fact that council may wish to consider regulating short-term rentals to counter the issue of long-term rentals disappearing from the market. Brian, is that potentially something that could be discussed when we review the official plan and zoning bylaws?
Certainly, I mean, the timing on that discussion is at council's leisure. So if council wish to discuss that, I mean, it's a separate and distinct bylaw. It's becoming actually quite common now in a lot of the bigger centers and even some of our rural communities. I think the city of Toronto calls them ghost hotels. So homes are being bought, taken off the market, and then they're strictly renting those out on a weekly basis for what they'd normally get for a month. And it makes it very difficult for people to find that long-term stability in a rental market. So certainly if council wishes to discuss that while we go through the official plan and zoning stuff, we can certainly make sure that that's on the radar as we go through reviewing that information.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that neighboring municipalities are looking at this very closely, and the short-term rentals, where in the past, for example, maybe a cottage was used, by a family for 2 or 3 weeks or a couple of months of the year. This has been extended, and this impacts our landfill. It impacts, many things within a community. So I think it is something that going forward in the official plan process certainly would be something to have that dialogue about it anyway. So any other comments or feedback? All right, hearing none. Thank you very much, everyone. And we would go to agenda item number 10. Okay. So business arising from the minutes that were presented formerly. Is there any business arising from the council minutes of May 4th? Okay. Hearing none. Business arising from the Asset Management Committee meeting of May 18th. Hearing none. And any business arising from the Waste Management Committee meeting of May 18th, 2022.
I'm just wondering, Merritt's, Councillor Shala, we discussed recycling at our waste management meeting, and was interesting. There were some interesting comments as to where, if we, and I see there's a motion on the table here later. I don't know whether I should be bringing it up now or later, but anyway, there were some interesting comments made about where is that material ended up in the long run, and is it going to be environment friendly to the world if it's possibly used to heat with the plastics or whatever in the end. So some of that waste product. So I'm just, I see we got a motion, but I was on the floor for this, and I'm hoping there's going to be some information available so that we know exactly where that's ending up, because if we're going to be polluting the world from another country, we're all losing. So I'm just wondering, it was exciting to hear about the project, but I'm just wondering about the after effects of it. So maybe
Brian, did you want to give feedback now, or?
Certainly, and I think Councillor Florent also spoke with Dave Gatley this morning. My understanding, I spoke with MECP, and they're very confident that recycling is being recycled out of the province of Ontario currently. I spoke with Kevin Mooter, who's been doing our, Dave spoke with Kevin Mooter, who's been doing our waste landfill annual monitoring and reporting for many, many, many years now at JP2G. And he's very, very confident that the materials are being processed and recycled today. I maybe would defer to Councillor Florent, because I know that he spoke with Dave this morning, or I believe he spoke with Dave this morning on this specific matter.
Did you want us to go ahead?
I did speak with the works supervisor, Mr. Gatley, and he assured me, along with Kevin Mooter's contribution to the question, that the products that we would be recycling are used for actually recycled use in the province of Ontario. And that the problem that I was aware of on Marketplace, although I think there is one of the streams goes to that facility in British Columbia, that the vast majority of it is reused in Ontario. And they assured me that there are no plastic bags, which are a different class of plastic, being mixed in with the plastic water bottles. And that was the major problem in that facility in British Columbia. So if that problem exists in British Columbia, it's not coming from Ontario, apparently.
Good. Good, thank you.
Councillor Rodnick.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to actually view over the weekend a YouTube video from the April 20th episode of The Fifth Estate. And that's the biggest problem, is these plastic bags and things going to these third world countries. And if you actually take the time to watch that video, it's an eye opener like you wouldn't believe. And so that is a concern as to where those are the items that I have the most concern about. And I don't know how we verify that they're not shipping these things across the ocean.
We're part of the program does not include the collection of filament plastics, which includes your saran wrap and things like that, nor are we collecting polystyrenes. Those are the two materials I think that were primarily of concern in that report.
Okay, good.
And I think, you know, should the resolution pass and we go forward with this, it will be educating our constituents as to, you know, what will be going into those containers at the landfill sites. And as I've mentioned in the past, it's really great to educate the children as to what is the proper, which are the proper items for recycling and going into their bins in their homes, so that they're very good little observers. So, you know, I'm confident that the community will work diligently to ensure that we're doing what we should be doing correctly for this process. So, any other comments or questions?
Councillor Bongo
All right.
here.
Oh, go ahead, Councillor Bongo.
Super. Yeah, just because we're on this section of business arising, I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time to ask this question, but at the May 4th meeting, we did also listen to the presentation from the health department regarding farmers markets. I did have two constituents ask me whether they would be permitted to sell crafts at a market hosted at Gallery Lake Memorial Park. And I don't think that there was anything in this meeting about what direction we're going to be taking. So my main question is, what shall I simply tell residents that there will be no market, or what is the consensus about that?
Well, I felt the outcome was personally confirming that basically the township has no partnership within the market itself at all. I saw it as an education process for council as to the requirements of the organizing group as to what they have to fulfill to ensure that public health is assured that the safe practices are in place. And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you asked that question of the public health representative in regards to crafts, and I thought it was an okay to go ahead with crafts. So I can be corrected by anyone on council if I'm wrong, but that was my thoughts in regards to the dialogue, Councillor Bongo.
It's Councillor Collins here. I think Agnes, the representative from the Health Authority, said for it to be called the farmers market, 52%, and I'm not 100% sure, but just over 50% of the stalls or tables had to be locally grown produce or food type. But it didn't say what the other 48% could be. So I'm sure crafts can be included, providing we call it a farmer's market if there's over 50%. That was as I understood this.
Was that your takeaway too, Councillor Bongo?
Yeah, pretty much. So if the resident that asked me about that, they said that they did some knitting throughout COVID and they want to try and selling that at the park, I can tell them that's okay.
I believe that's correct.
Great.
Yes.
Great. And for now, we will, if people want to sell food, I'll just advise them that we don't have the organization to do that currently at this time.
Okay.
Super.
Brian, did you wish to elaborate or anything?
No, I think council's was clear on at the last meeting on what they wanted on that.
Okay.
Councillor
Thank you.
Bongo, when you said food, I think you're referring to prepared food, correct?
Prepared, any kind of food. Yeah, any kind of food at all. Because once a vendor is selling food, then we have to evaluate, oh, is it homegrown or not? And then in which case, if it is all or 51% or more homegrown, then it is permissible. But then we need names of everybody that's participating, and that's when it really enters that extra level of organization, which at this stage we don't really have.
But my interpretation was that you can't sell the crafts without selling the food.
No, I don't believe the way that I interpret it personally was that if there's no food and it's just crafts, then it's extremely low risk. And at that point, the health department doesn't even need to be consulted. It's really the moment that anybody is selling food, even if it's being cooked there at a barbecue, or if somebody did some canning, and then they're selling their jars there. That's when the health department needs to be consulted. But like I said, yeah, if it's just arts and crafts, then there's no health risk involved, in which case the health department does not require consultation.
It's also not a farmer's market. It's a craft sale.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. All right. So we have clarity there. So that's very good. Anything else? All right. So agenda item number 11, any unfinished business?
I would like to bring something up regarding the fire department under unfinished business. It's just the fact that we got rid of a truck that nobody wanted for $53,000, and we've acquired 2 trucks that puts us in compliance for at least the next 3 years for about $33,000 including all the taxes and everything. So we still have about $20,000 left in that sale that's in reserves. And I would just like council to be open to the idea of using all or part of that $20,000 to prepare these 2 trucks to go in service. Like Ian mentioned, that the one truck needs a little bit of repainting around the fenders. It doesn't really body work. I think it's just stripping the paint off, etching the aluminum to make the paint adhere to it, and putting the paint back on again. But little things like that, it doesn't take long to use up 20,000. It's just, I don't want to see him tied up for months, looking for approval to get the money to do this work. I would like council just to say, yeah, it's okay for all or part of that $20,000 to get those trucks in service.
Brian, do you wish to comment? I would think through consensus we could do that. I don't think anyone wants to prevent the the process of introducing this new equipment into our fire services. So would you comment on Councillor Florence statement?
Certainly, if council feels it's appropriate to take any of the funds that we utilize, that we received from the sale of a vehicle that we had no need for, and turn that into rehabbing the trucks that we have, I don't see any problem with that from an operational perspective. It has no budget impact because the money that we received from the sale was strictly going back into the reserve. So certainly I would probably have Jen at a later date just prepare a resolution as it would relate to the expenditures, so that we could ensure that rather than putting that money into the reserve, that the money was dedicated, that was necessary, would have been dedicated to the current year budget.
All right. So could I just have a quick yay or nay in regards to this direction that Brian is suggesting, and that we would cover this by resolution in a future meeting? So is anyone against this process?
It only makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. So thank you, Joe, for bringing that up. Thank you, Brian, for taking the direction, and you'll let Chief Collins know to go ahead, and then we'll cover this with a resolution at an upcoming meeting. Is that all right then?
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that, Councillor Florent. Correspondence for action. We did not have any action items under the action item correspondence. We do have items under correspondence for information. The first item, does anyone have any comment in regards to regulation changes under the Aggregate Resource Act? They seem to be making a few changes at various times throughout. Any comments there? Hearing none. I don't know if that impacts us as a township. I read through it, but I must say I'm not an expert in aggregate legislation, so I really don't know. So I would leave that to you. And we got the information in regards to the Rockathon for 2022 as a fundraiser for I think it's for, is it for hospice? Anyway, yes. So anyway, that's, if any members of council feel like rocking, you have the opportunity. So I'll leave that to you. Any comments on either of those items?
Just to let you know that I recently became a member of the board of directors for Valley Manor.
Oh, great. Oh, congratulations, Councillor Rodnick, and that's wonderful. They, I had seen the advertisement, so great to know we've got someone locally on the board there. Thank you. All right, so now we are down to, where am I in my agenda? New business? Hearing none. Agenda item 15, we will begin the motions of council. So I would have Carla go ahead with this first motion.
You need a mover, please.
I'll move it.
A seconder.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Shala, seconded by Councillor Florent, that council for the corporation of the Township of South Algonquin awards tender SA 2022-03 asphalt resurfacing on McRae Hay Lake Road to Bonashare Excavating Inc. in the amount of $166,788, including HST.
Any discussion? Hearing none, go ahead with the vote.
Mayor Dumas,
Or,
Councillor Collins,
Or,
Councillor Florent,
Or,
Councillor Harper,
Four.
Councillor Bongo,
Four.
Councillor Shala,
Or,
Councillor Rodnick, Councillor
Councillor
Rodnick,
Rodnick,
Four, sorry.
thank you. It's carried. Go ahead with the next resolution, please, Carla.
okay, a mover,
I'll move that. Councillor Collins.
I'll second it.
thank you. Moved by Councillor Collins, seconded by Councillor Bongo, that council for the corporation of the township of South Algonquin accepts the proposal received from Emterra Environmental for front-end bin recycling at both Erie and Lyell landfill sites.
Discussion? We've had discussion. Go ahead with the vote then.
Mayor Dumas,
Or,
Councillor Collins,
Or,
Councillor Florent,
or,
Councillor Harper,
Four.
Councillor Bongo,
Four.
Councillor Shala,
or,
Councillor Rodnick,
Four.
carried. The next resolution, please.
I
This is in
require a
regard
mover
to-
and seconder. Do I have a mover
I'll move it.
and a seconder?
I will.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Bongo, seconded by Councillor Florent, that council for the corporation of the township of South Algonquin authorizes staff to proceed with the implementation of the subsidized pilot program for food cyclers from Food Cycler Municipal Solutions.
Any discussion?
I would, Councillor Shala here, I would just, how are we going to select, if it's 50 people, I believe, how are we going to select who they are? How are we going to advertise that this is available to the public? And had we thought when it comes to deciding who gets what, are we going to assign it to so many per ward? Or is it just first come, first served, or is it councillors? I'm just wondering how this is all going to go.
It's Councillor Rodnick here. I've done some reading on how some of the other municipalities are handling this, because I had some of the same concerns that you did, Richard. A lot of them are basically they're coming, some are doing it on a first come, first served basis as to who gets the machines. If they're getting more people wanting these machines than there are machines, some of them are using like a lottery process. And so those are some of the methods they're getting them out. These machines, basically what they're doing, it seems that everybody as part of the pilot project is basically, they're picking a date that people have until they can, commit to these things. And then all the machines, basically, it looks like they show up at once and they have a specific 12-week period, because that's how long this pilot program is going to last.
at the end of the pilot project as well, there's a short survey issued by the company. How many times have you used the machine? How many times have you put it through its recycling? What have you done with the compost? What do you think of the smells, etc., etc.? So there's a short survey, and while you are using the machine as one of the pilot people, you monitor how much waste is going in and how many times you're actually cycling it through its composting. That was what they did in South Stormont. I guess the company is doing that with all of their sponsored pilot projects.
Yeah, they have a number of them out there. And actually what they do is there seems to be 3 questionnaires or surveys that they have to fill out. One when they start, one partway through, and one at the end.
So Brian, I did not refresh my memory on this item. So I can't remember firmly in my mind the process as to the involvement of the municipality in this system.
municipality is responsible for putting them out there, basically selling them for whatever price that you decide that they're doing it. Because the prices aren't set in stone, because some of them, their constituents paid $120 instead of $175. Some were $150, some were $175. So it all depends on it looks like it depends what the municipality is willing to support.
That is correct, Councillor Rodnick. That's what I understand as well, that council can adjust that number if they so desire.
So, sorry, so by passing this resolution, it says authorizes staff to proceed with the implementation. So that would be, I would assume, Brian, the next step would be, defining the distribution, the cost, et cetera, and making some of those decisions. Is that correct?
I think that would bring us to signing some form of an agreement, and obviously then there's also some additional council discussion potentially required to determine how council wishes to roll this out as it relates to whether it's going to be so many that we're going to put out in each ward, whether it's going to be if we don't get enough in one ward, would we then allow additional people out of another ward, or would it be just simply a first come, first serve? So I think some of those discussions would certainly be prudent if council wishes to proceed with this program, as well as the level of subsidy for which council wishes. Do they wish to maintain the subsidy that was provided in the recommendation in the report from the product producer, or would council feel that something else would be more appropriate in our community, or that in order to encourage it?
Okay, so this is basically to get it on the table at a waste management committee meeting for further discussion in regards to the details you've just indicated, I would say.
And we would certainly be, this would also allow us to go ahead and proceed with signing an agreement with Food Cycler, and then we would come back to, we would maybe do a waste management later on this month to allow us to determine how we wanted that program to roll out from here.
Go ahead, Councillor Harper.
Do we have any idea at the current time, Brian, what it's going to cost the municipality for both this resolution and the previous one? Do we have any idea what, how much money the municipality is going to have to put into this to make it work?
Certainly, I believe I don't want to quote the number because I don't have the Food Cycler project directly in front of me at the moment.
$6,250 based on $125 per machine.
Thank you. And the recycling program is $90 per lift per bin. And they're lifting, at this point, the intent is to lift each bin once a month. So it would be $360 a month over 12 months. We may find that may, depending on the uptake in the recycling program, we may find that we need to lift those bins more frequently. But at the moment, we're planning for one lift a month of each bin, and there's 4 bins, 2 at each site.
Well, these possible costs only apply to the project. How do our personnel fit into this? Will there not be money allocated toward our municipal personnel to look after these things?
Obviously, Councillor Harper, Dave will have to reassess at the landfill site the assistance, especially initially, in making sure that the public gets properly trained, to make sure that the recycling program starts off from at the beginning on the right foot. So certainly it would involve some staff time, absolutely. Is going to involve, one of the things we've asked is we're going to take all the waste custodians to the facility so that they can see how things are processed and get a better understanding of what they need to do and why they need to do it. Certainly council has that opportunity as well if they'd like to do a tour of the facility that's processing the materials. But definitely there is the potential with the additional recycling that we may find that during the summer months, we may need some extra help at the site while we're implementing the program.
Personally, I see that as a plus if we could, get a summer student, keenness in recycling, et cetera, at both landfill sites to assist or whatever. personally, I see that as a positive, but any other questions, Councillor Harper?
No, I'm fine.
Mayor,
Okay,
I
go
would just
ahead.
like to get something clarified here. I thought it was the township coming to some agreement with this food cyclers program. And then the individual at a reduced rate for 50 units or whatever. Now, but it was my understanding that these at the reduced rate, the customer or the resident was going to have to pay that reduced rate, not the township.
No, it's a combination of both, Richard. Basically what it is the machine has a retail price of $500. The company is cutting back their price by $200 as part of this special pilot program. The proposal that we received indicated that the municipality would be responsible. So that leaves an outstanding amount due of $300 per machine. So the $125 would come from the municipality, and the $175 is to come from the taxpayer or the person wanting the machine.
Okay, but I guess that's, you worded it much differently. The taxpayer, there's overall tax, 1,200 of them going to pay for 50 people. So that's why I brought up concern about how are we going to distribute those? Is it equally amongst wards, or
that's totally up to
come first? Anyway, a whole bunch of issues, and I don't want to delay it, but I just want to make sure that when we're voting on this, that we realize that
you're right. I don't disagree with you at all. I mean, that's exactly what's basically happening.
I just want to get my point out here that it appears that we're going to be, in a sense, giving $100 and some or more or less or whatever it is to 50 residents in the township to have a glorified recycling program for their waste and composting. So anyway, I just want us to fully understand that.
Well,
as we move forward here.
Can I add to that, Richard? I think we've forgotten the presentation that was put in front of us about all of the composted and the wet waste going into the landfill, and the reduction in the mass going in, the methane being produced, etc., etc. And that is of benefit to everybody in the township. So by people actually purchasing this machine and not putting their wet waste and their compost into our landfill, the hope, as I see it, what with the frontline recycling and the composting, our landfill sites should be lasting a lot longer. There'll be less actually going into them. And isn't that important for the whole of the township? Not just individual people that are prepared to pay for this. I mean, there are people that don't get their garbage collected on a weekly basis and have to take it there or store it till such times as someone can take it for them. So I think the fact that we are trying to reduce what is going into our landfill, and landfill is an archaic way of dealing with garbage. We all must not want to pollute our land. And if our landfill can last a lot longer, then it's far cheaper than looking for another site for a new landfill down the road. And I think the big picture has to be looked at here, not just the minutiae. So that's my take on this whole recycling issue as I see it.
Well, if I could just make one more comment, I agree with what you're saying, and it's a good portion of it. I have a composter in my backyard also. And I guess there are many that have composters in their yards. But what I'm getting at is, should the taxpayers, and maybe this resolution, maybe we should be working the details out before we get this resolution on the table. Possibly it should be delayed. Maybe we should be looking at how, number one, do we agree that all the taxpayers should pay for a portion of I guess a composter, glorified one, for 50 residents in the township. I don't know. I think we should be looking at all the details here before we, how we're going to get to the bottom of this before we select certain individuals. And that's why I was concerned about the ward, to make it equal and fair, or fairer. And if we went that route, and how we're going to do it. So I just think there's a lot of things should be worked out here before we vote on this.
Okay, so Brian, could you just advise me of process, because I don't want to call the vote on this resolution and have it fail. I would like to, could you just please advise me as to how to proceed with this?
So I guess the question is, council had asked us to bring forward this resolution and the recycling resolution at our committee meeting. That's why staff brought it forward. The resolution as it's written would enable staff to proceed with signing an agreement for the purposes of acquiring the food cycler municipal solution for composting, which would then trigger a need for us to determine how council wishes to roll that program out. So alternatively, certainly council, if they feel that they're not prepared to move this forward, they can choose to table the resolution if that would be preferable for council, or they can move forward. As I say, it's at council's discretion at this point. We were requested to bring it forward, so we did.
Thank you, Brian.
Councillor Florent.
Go ahead, Councillor Florent.
I feel a little conflicted because I put my name as a seconder on this motion when previously I argued against it. But Councillor Collins' point about reducing the volume of the wet waste going into garbage is pretty negligible when there's only 50 households going to be excluding their wet waste out of 1,250. So it's, I don't know what the percentage is, but it's not very much anyway. And that's if everybody adhered to the concept 100%, which I doubt. A number of years ago when the town, I don't even think it was the township of Madawaska Valley, it was Barry's Bay, had backyard composters, and after them sitting in the township office for 6 months, you could buy them for $2 a piece. They couldn't give them away. We may have the same problem in our township. People may not buy into this. It's pretty expensive. And Richard's point about the taxpayers are paying for them all and then subsidizing the buyback of some of them is very valid. Like the council, the township doesn't have any money. All we're doing is spending taxpayer money. So some of the people are paying for it twice. Some people are paying for the whole thing, and some people are only going to pay for half. And we asked for some information on the carbon filters in them, and we didn't get that. So for that reason, I would suggest as one of the movers that we table this and get some more information on it and then bring it back to council again.
Councillor Rodnick, just to your point there about the carbon filters, Joe, like I said, I've done a little bit of research, and they said the carbon filters are at an additional cost of about $50, and the carbon filter will last up to about 500 hours of actual working time, which basically translates into you're going to need at least 3 filters per year.
Okay.
That's what it said somewhere.
Okay. Okay. So what I would suggest, Joe, you were the seconder. Who moved this resolution?
Councillor Bongo.
Okay. I would suggest that if the mover and seconder are agreeable that we table this to bring back, I think it needs to go back to a waste management committee meeting so we can have all these questions and do a spreadsheet and come out with how much this would cost. Because my understanding of a pilot project is that you run it, you set out your criteria, you run it, you evaluate it after the, the trial period time, and then determine could we then go back to the constituents of South Algonquin and say, look, we've trialed this, it's been this, and these are the outcomes, and then make the decision as whether we want to go forward with this as an opportunity for every resident in South Algonquin to buy into this program. And it is both a buy-in, physically for the apparatus and as a commitment to wet waste recycling. So would that be appropriate, Brian?
Certainly, Mayor Duma, if you wanted to table the motion and bring forward something, certainly the anticipation and expectation from a staff level would be that any program that, as you say, that's a pilot program such as this, should it be at the end of it, there would be a cost benefit analysis done, how much material was being diverted out of our landfill, and should that be extrapolated to the entire community, how would that, what would that result in landfill savings? What is our cost per ton for landfill? What is the cost, ongoing cost of monitoring into perpetuity for landfill versus what did it cost to operate this program, and what were the successes and what were the failures, and what would we do differently? So that would kind of be the expectation if we went ahead with a pilot project.
And just a further thought on this as well, like where's food cyclers in this evaluation process? I don't think this should be, should be totally on the lap of the township to do this evaluation process. And I think that they should, as a partner and as a vendor, be working with us at the table to have a comprehensive evaluation of this process, this pilot project. So would that be fair?
I anticipate that with the 3 surveys that they do in the process, that information is probably is collected by them and likely returned back to us in some type of summary format. But our costs of operation at landfill are different than others. So some of the financial costing that would have to be done to determine the value of the project would have to be done at a staff level.
Okay, fair enough. So I would ask the mover, Councillor Bongo, and the seconder, Councillor Florent, are you agreeable to table this, to take it back to asset management for further discussion?
Yes.
So Councillor Bongo, yes, and Councillor Florent, yes. Good.
Yep.
Thank you very much. I think it's a viable process, but it needs a little more detailing for sure. So we will table that resolution then and bring it back to an waste management committee meeting for further discussion. Thank you very much. All right, Carla, we'll go to the next resolution then.
Right, I require our mover.
I will move that.
Okay.
And a seconder?
I'll second it.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Florent, seconded by Councillor Collins, that Council for the Corporation of the Township of South Algonquin supports Tay Valley Township's Resolution C20220423, which supports the Association of Municipalities of Ontario's letter to the Solicitor General of Ontario, outlining their concerns with the draft regulations regarding firefighter certification.
Any discussion? Hearing none, go ahead with the vote, please, Carla.
Mayor Dumoff?
For.
Councillor Collins?
For.
Councillor Florent?
Or.
Councillor Harper?
For.
Councillor Bongo?
Or.
Councillor Shala?
Or.
Councillor Rodnick?
Or.
Carried, thank you. Agenda item number 16, notice of motions. We do not have any. Agenda item number 17, we do have a bylaw. Carla, I would get you to go ahead with the mover and the seconder.
So I have a mover.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Harper, seconded by Councillor Shala, that bylaw 2022-709 being a bylaw for tax capping options. Bylaw 2022-710 being a bylaw for an integrity commissioner agreement. Bylaw 2022-711 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council.
That it be read a first and second time and that it be read a first time and deemed to be read a second time. Call the vote, please.
Mayor Dumas,
Or
Councillor Collins,
Or,
Councillor Florent,
Or,
Councillor Harper,
Or,
Councillor Bongo,
For.
Councillor Shala,
Or,
Councillor Rodnick,
For.
it's carried. And the third reading,
I require a mover
I'll move it.
and a seconder, please.
I'll second it.
Moved by Councillor Collins, seconded by Councillor Rodnick. That bylaw 2022-709 being a bylaw for tax capping options. Bylaw 2022-710 being a bylaw for an integrity commissioner agreement. Bylaw 2022-711 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council.
and that it be read, that it be deemed read a third time. Is there any discussion in regards to bylaw for tax capping options? Hearing none. Discussion on bylaw for an integrity commissioner agreement? Hearing none. And being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council. And so it's been read a third time and passed. Go ahead with the vote, Carla.
Mayor Dumas,
Or
Councillor Collins,
Or,
Councillor Florent,
or,
Councillor Harper,
or,
Councillor Bongo,
For.
Councillor Shala,
or,
Councillor Rodnick,
For.
it's carried. Agenda item number 18, resolution to move into a closed session. Carla, could we go ahead with a mover and a seconder?
yes, do I have a mover
make the motion.
and a seconder?
I'll second it.
Moved by Councillor Florent and seconded by Councillor Collins. That corporation of the Township of South Algonquin move into closed session. 239 Section B, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. D, labor relations or employee negotiations. Building official at 10:21.
Thank you. And call the vote, please.
Mayor Dumas,
Or
Councillor Collins,
Or,
Councillor Florent,
Or,
Councillor Harper,
or,
Councillor Bongo,
For.
Councillor Shala,
or,